Jay from ShopWorks here. In this video, we're going to look at proof stuff. We're actually going to look from OnSite, from within OnSite, in conjunction with proof stuff and creating proofs within the OnSite system. So if you're using proof stuff as a standalone application and you're not using OnSite, this video is not for you. We have a separate video on how to create proofs from within proof stuff by itself. I'd recommend you watch that video. This video is going to focus on creating proofs from within OnSite. So what are proofs? Well, proofs can be any kind of digital file that you want your customer to sign off on. Now, typically those are art approvals, spec art, order approvals, maybe a quote approval, an agreement of some sort, shipping instructions, but really they can be anything that you want your customer to agree to or to sign off on can be included as part of a proof. Now in proof stuff, we have different proof types. I'm going to illustrate all of those for you as we go through the rest of this video. And the first one we're going to look at is the single style or single type of proof. And that's where you present a bunch of items to your customer. So let's say you present a few different items or images. In this case, the example I'm going to use is images. And you're going to ask the customer to make a choice. They can only pick one of those. If they want to approve, they can only pick one. If they want to decline, they're declining everything. So you're asking them to make a choice. If they're not going to make a choice, then they're saying they're rejecting everything, and that's the single style. So let's go over to our on-site system. Now, before I get started, remember, in on-site, there's three places where you can generate a proof from. You can generate it from a sales order, you can generate it from a design, and you can generate it from a quote. The mechanics are the same. So everything I'm showing you will apply to any of those areas. I'm going to do it from a sales order. I think that's probably the most common place. Quotes are common as well, but no matter what, the mechanics are the same. So what I'm showing you would apply no matter what area that you're working in. So we're going to work with a customer today in most of these examples called DC Special Olympics. So I'm going to bring them up. I'm going to bring up their orders. And we can see we have two orders, and then I'm going to work with this one. And typical sales order, we've got some dates, we've got a design in here. I've got some items on the order, a very simple order. And I want to go ahead and generate a proof for this customer. Now, maybe I'm the artist, maybe I'm the salesperson. Again, that'll be up to you who sends the proof and when they send it. Now, in this particular case, I'm the artist and I've generated some designs and I want the customer to pick between my different design options. So I'm going to go ahead and generate a proof from them. Now, when you're generating proofs, I'm just going to click on the Add Proof button. And I'm going to put a proof name in here. So I'm just going to say Design Choices is what I'm going to call it. Now notice it defaulted to single, and that's the kind that I want to use. And it's got a file here. This is the file, the first file the customer is going to have a choice of. And you have some options here. I can add a file, which is pick from my computer. I can pick from the design in the system, from the ShopWorks design in the system. I can pick from a form in the system. And I can put notes on it. So those are my different options. So if I add from file, notice it goes to my file system. If I click on design, notice it picks from the sales order, the thumbnail, and the sales order design. And if I click it, it uses the thumbnail that's actually on the design that's attached to the sales order. Let's go back out and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I go over here to design, the design has a thumbnail on it and it's using that thumbnail. I can also use a form. So for example, if I click on form, I don't have any form selected. So let's hit cancel. And you have to go over here to this print page. Let's say I have an invoice. I'm going to select an invoice. You have to use one of the forms selected in the system. So I'd go over to this print page. Let's say I want to generate an invoice. I want the customer to sign off on the invoice. If I go back over to proof stuff on my proof, if I click on form, now I can use the invoice and that's what the customer's going to, that's going to be one of my options, my first image or my first thing that they're going to be signed off on. Okay, so those are some of your options of things that you can select from to have the customer sign off on. It's not just images from your computer. It can be a thumbnail from the system. It can be a form from the system. Not only an invoice, it could be any of the forms that are available in the on-site system. I'm going to use something from my file system, and let's see here. I'm going to go to my over here. So I'm going to go to my torch run. I've created some, my artist has created some torch run designs that I want the customer to select from. So that's going to be my first option. Then I'm going to add another one. And then I'm going to, oops, add a third one. I don't want the fourth. Okay, so when I'm clicking on this add button, clicking on the add button is adding an option, is adding another image or another option for my customer to select. Delete will delete one of these. Clear will just clear it out. So clear would clear out my third option. Delete would go down to 2. And then add would add a fourth. And then if I want to add a file, that would insert a file here. Design would insert a design, etc. Form would insert a form. So for example, if I delete here, now I've gone down to 2 options. If I click on add, I'm back up to a third option and I need to reinsert my file. Okay, so those are going to be my 3 options. I need to put in my proof name, torch run options. I have an optional message if I want to put that in there. So now I'm still within the on-site system. Nothing has been uploaded to the web yet. When I click on release, okay, it's actually going to release the proof. So what this is doing, this is actually creating the proof and it's uploading all the images to the website, to the Proof Stuff website. And then it brings me to my stock email. Now from here, this is I'm constructing the email that I want to send to my customer. So it's automatically going to Bob Smalls. If I wanted to change that, I could send it to a different contact at that customer. I can also pick from my stock emails. So right there, I have my design approval. And notice when I pick it, it dynamically puts in all the information. Design approval, order number, dear Bob, here's your torch run options, and here's the link, and there's all of our text, and it's coming from me. And I would go ahead and send it to him. Now, I'm not going to actually send it, but it would send it to him. Now, when I'm using proofs, when I'm using on-site to send proofs, this would go directly from my email, not through Proof Stuff. This email is coming directly from me to Bob. Okay, so that proof has now been sent, and I can see the status of it. It's open. If I wanted to, I have some options here. I can view what the proof looks like. So if I click on this little button here, it will bring up in a web browser. Give it a second to open up. It'll bring up in a web browser what the proof looks like. And actually, as of the time of this video, this is not working properly because this is in a development sandbox, but it would properly bring up the proof. So the it would look something like this. Actually, I can Your proof would look something like this, but with your options on here. And actually, let me pause the video and show you what it would actually look like. Okay, so here's what the I logged into proof stuff, and here's what the proof would look like. So you can see in that single style, this is what the customer would see. In that single style, they're presented with the three options, and they are forced to select one of the options before they can approve or decline, or before they can approve. They actually can decline, and they can decline the whole thing. But to approve, they have to select one of the options. So let's just say they selected this option, and they click on approve, and Bob is the one who approved it. And then they're going to put their signature in there, Bob Smalls. Once they do that, the proof itself will look a little bit different. It changes because it shows which item was approved, which ones were declined. It shows their signature and the date and who approved it, etc. So the proof itself changes. Now OnSite changes as well. Once they move away and move back to the proof stuff, you can see that the status of that proof itself has changed. It's now been approved. And if you want some feedback on that, you can click on it. You can see the date and time it was approved, and by Bob Smalls. So the on-site system is updated as well. Okay, so that is the single type proof. Well, now that Bob has selected his option, my artist would finish doing the actual design itself, finalize the design, and now we want to get a final approval for Bob. So what we would do is, now we want to do a different kind of proof. I'm going to go ahead and add another proof, and I'm going to call this final approval. Okay, so I'm going to do another approval. The first approval was just to get him to kind of select the kind of design he wanted. The final approval is going to be a final sign off on his artwork, and it's going to be also, I'm going to get him to sign off on his order itself. So instead of this being a single approval, this is going to be what's called an absolute approval. And I'm going to want to have two different items in here. So the first item is going to be his design. So I'm going to add the design in there that he selected. And again, maybe my artist made some tweaks. Maybe I show the design mocked up on a shirt. I mean, there's different things you can do, but that's going to be his final sign off. And then I'm going to want to add a form. I'm going to want him to sign off on the invoice itself. So that means I want him to sign off on pricing. I want him to sign off on shirt colors. You might even, some people have them sign off on a packing list showing where the delivery options are. So I could even add another form in here with a packing list if I wanted to. So that way the customer's signing off on the design, he's signing off on the pricing, and he's signing off on the shipping. So that's up to you. And in this case, the customer is either signing off on everything or declining everything. So the way I'm thinking of it is the final approval. So I'm going to go ahead and release this. Again, it's being uploaded to the website. I would send the customer the email. I'm going to skip this step because I've already showed it to you, but I would send the customer the email. And you can see that's now final approval. It's on there. It's on the website. The customer's been sent it. And I refreshed my Proof Stuff website, which I'm logged in on, and I can see there's the final approval. And if I open it up to see what the customer sees, this is what the customer sees. Please carefully review the image documents below, then approve or decline the complete group of items. Thank you for your business. And they either have to approve or decline. Now there's a glitch in displaying this, which will be fixed before release. But what they would see here is they would see the image, and then they would see the document. If they want to see it, zoom in on the document. They would click on this little zoom in button. They would get a pop out, and that pop out would show all the details of the document, which is a PDF. They could download it, they could print it, and they would see all the details. Same thing with the image. They could zoom in on it and see the details. And again, there's no individual, each item does not have an individual approve or decline. The approve or decline is on the entire process. Now, let's say I didn't like the pricing or something, I could decline. Pricing is off by 50 cents. And again, Bob Smalls, and I would sign it. And again, if you're on an iPad, you could do that with your finger or a tablet device. So he's acted on the proof. When he's acted on it, the customer's acted on it. He has sent an approval. He has sent a confirmation rather. I am sent a confirmation. And now we would have to adjust the pricing and resend him another one. If I go back to my on-site system and I navigate to refresh, I would see here, and this is nice because I get a complete history of what's been done on this order. We sent him options, those options were approved. Then we sent him a final approval, it was declined. Well, then I would have to go in here. Oh, okay, it's off by 50 cents, so it's supposed to be $5.30 based on the quote that we sent him. So I'd update those totals. I'd go back over to proof stuff and I'd send him another proof with the revised pricing in it, and then I'd have him approve that before I would continue with the order. So that's how you would build all this into your processes. Okay, so that is the absolute approval. Now, let's do another example. I'm going to do it on the same order, but the real world situation would be for a different customer. Let's do another proof, and let's show you what the multiple approval is. The multiple approval is, and I'm just going to call this shirt design. This is a scenario where I have lots of items I want to present to my customer, but I want to let them be able to select which items they want to approve and select which items they don't want to approve. It's on a case-by-case basis. So each particular item can either be approved or not approved. So I'm going to add a bunch of these. I think I only need 4. So let's add a file. And again, these don't have to be, these could be any kind of files. So I'm going to do a back of the shirt, or I'll do the front first. I'll do another one. This is the front with the name. This is going to be the back. And then this is going to be the deal details. So I want him to approve or decline the front, approve or decline this front, approve or decline the back, and approve or decline the shipping instructions. I'm going to release it. And again, I get my email, but I'm going to skip this step. You wouldn't skip it in the real world, but I'm just for the purposes of this demo. And so now let's go over back to the website. And let's refresh this. And let me show you what this looks like. So we open it up, or the customer would open it up, and what they would see is that each individual item itself can be either approved or declined. So each item is approvable or declinable, but they all must be acted on before the entire proof can be submitted. So you can see here, decline. I'm going to decline this one. I like the other one better. Front better. Okay. I'm going to approve this one. I'm going to approve this one. That back looks good. I like it. And I'm going to approve this. This looks fine. Okay. So now I'm going to submit this. And again, once I've done that, the proof itself will change. It's no longer actionable. I cannot act on it. So the first item was declined. The other 3 were approved. And if I go back to my on-site system, you'll see approved, declined, and partial. Partial means that we presented them with 4 items. Of those 4, 3 were approved, 1 was not approved. And if I were to, I can review what that means, and I can see, if I go on the details, I can see item 4 approved, item 3 approved, item 2 approved, item 1 declined, and why he declined it. I like the other front better. So in this style where all the items are presented and all the items can be approved or declined, you'll have to interpret what that means. In this case, really it was approved to me because I presented him with 4 different options with 4 different things. He approved one front, declined another front, approved a back, and approved the shipping. So in my mind, really I can proceed forward. I can proceed forward with the order. So it's really approved, even though in proof stuff or in OnSite, it just sees it as being partial because the customer declined an option. So I guess the story here is you're going to have to decide, with proof stuff, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of, with these three different methods of presenting proofs to the customers and how the customer can act upon them, that gives you a lot of power and a lot of options of how you can present proofs to your customers. You're going to have to decide how to build that into a process or procedure, into how best to present that to your customers, and then how best to act upon them. So that's going to kind of be up to you. But there are all kinds of options of how to do that with the tools that are built into proof stuff. And remember, you can present images and documents together in the same proof, which you could not do in previous versions of proof stuff, but you now can. You can present the images and documents together. So that concludes this video on how to create proofs from within OnSite.